Dark Whispers presents The City That Exists Only in Dreams, a Dark Whispers special episode.
It began the same way every night. A city beneath a pale blue sky, endless streets, motionless air, not a single sound except my own breathing. At first, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, but dreams usually fade. This one didn't. Every morning I'd wake up remembering more, new corners, new alleys, new details that shouldn't exist. There was a square with a broken fountain, a bookstore with no sign, its windows covered in dust, a cat that sat perfectly still on a doorstep, watching, never blinking. And that feeling, that heavy, gentle pressure on my chest, as if the city itself was breathing with me. The strangest part wasn't the silence. It was how familiar it felt, like I'd been there before, like I'd grown up there and forgotten. So I started keeping track, a notebook by my bed. Every morning I'd write down what I saw, street names, landmarks, the shapes of buildings. I drew the skyline. Page after page, the city began to take form, an entire map of something that didn't exist. But something changed on the fifth night. The dream felt heavier, longer. The air buzzed, like a storm was coming. I turned a corner I'd never noticed before and saw a metal plaque on the wall. The letters were rusted, half erased, but I could still read them.
Somniville.
The name echoed when I woke up. It didn't just feel familiar, it felt remembered, like it had been waiting for me. I searched for it online. Nothing. No city, no records, no mentions. But when I dug deeper, old scanned maps, archives, forgotten places, I found it. A faint word on a yellowed page, barely visible beneath a crease in the paper. Somniville. There were no roads leading to it, no date of founding. Just a name, written between two rivers that don't exist. I stared at the map for hours. The longer I looked, the more I felt it pulling me in, as if my eyes were falling into the page. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound in my apartment felt wrong. The refrigerator hum matched the same tone I'd heard in the dream. The wind outside carried that same hollow echo. It was like the city had followed me home. So I opened the window. Cold air drifted in, and for a moment I thought I smelled rain on stone. I sat down, closed my eyes, and told myself it was just a dream. But when I opened them again, I was standing in the middle of Somniville. It started small, things I could dismiss if I really wanted to. A shop window that looked too familiar. A cracked street light that leaned at the same impossible angle I'd seen in my dream. And a bus stop, identical, down to the number etched into the metal pole. At first, I laughed it off. Coincidence, déjà vu. But the more I walked through the city, the more it felt like I was retracing steps I hadn't taken yet. Everything was familiar in that wrong, hollow way, the kind that makes your skin crawl before your mind catches up. One night, I passed by a cafe I swear I'd never seen before, but I knew the smell. The burned coffee, the old wallpaper peeling at the corners, the faint sound of an off-tune piano. I dreamed it exactly like that. When I looked inside, a man was sitting alone by the window, his head turned slightly toward me. And for a fraction of a second, I recognized him. Not from real life, but from there, from Somniville. I froze. He didn't move, didn't blink, just watched me through the foggy glass. When a bus passed between us, and I looked again, he was gone. After that, the lines blurred faster. I'd wake up unsure if I'd actually slept. Street names began matching the ones in my notebook, the same ones I'd invented. A cracked fountain in my dream had become a small park near the river. A bookstore that used to be abandoned was suddenly open. Same architecture, same dust, even the same sign that had been missing before. I posted about it online, thinking maybe someone would explain it away. Some shared dream phenomenon, a coincidence of design, anything logical. But within hours, hundreds of replies appeared. I've seen that city too. The blue sky that never moves, the silent streets, the cat. They all described it the same way, the same corners, the same clock tower, the same silence that presses down on your chest like a held breath. I read for hours. People from different countries, different languages, all describing Somniville. Some even included drawings. The skyline matched mine exactly. Every street name, every shadow, all the same. One user wrote, "I stopped dreaming of it after I found the fountain in real life, but the cat followed me home." That was when I stopped sleeping altogether, because every time I closed my eyes, I could feel the city waiting. Not calling, waiting, like a living thing holding its breath. I used to think it was my imagination. Now I'm starting to believe it's remembering me back. The notebook was no longer enough. Every night the city grew larger, and my sketches darker. Streets that once ended now stretched on forever. Windows appeared where none existed before, and somewhere, just at the edge of perception, I could hear something, a soft rhythmic murmur, like distant whispers carried by the wind. At first, I thought it was my mind unraveling from exhaustion. But one morning, when I looked back through my notes, the handwriting wasn't mine. The words were sharp, precise, written in a hand that looked decades older. Each line described the same dream, but dated 1952. The entry read, "The city is growing again. The fountain has cracked. The air hums at night. Somniville watches Somniville." That word again, appearing in someone else's life long before mine. I felt the cold crawl up my spine as I realized someone else had been there, someone who had seen it before me. I needed to know who. That night, I dug through the old archives I'd downloaded, the same forgotten databases, scanned books, neglected microfilm, and buried beneath corrupted folders, I found a single reference. A self-published book from the 1960s called Through the Mirror of Sleep. No author listed, no publisher. Just 62 pages of disjointed text and photographs of impossible architecture, angled hallways, doorways that led into blank walls, and faint figures standing at the end of empty streets. I ordered the digital scan. When it arrived, I realized something strange. Every few pages, the ink darkened as though whoever printed it was fighting against the paper itself. And halfway through the book, I saw it, a photograph of a city square. The same broken fountain, the same cat sitting motionless on the stone steps. Only there was a man standing beside it. His face was turned slightly away, but his posture, his build, he looked exactly like me. I stared at that image for nearly an hour. I checked every shadow, every angle. It wasn't possible. But the more I looked, the more the picture seemed to move, like the air around it was alive, shimmering slightly, as if the city inside the photo still breathed. I flipped to the next page. There was no continuation, no caption, only a paragraph, scrawled in that same old handwriting. The city remembers its visitors. Each dreamer leaves a trace behind. That sentence wouldn't leave my head. I heard it when I closed my eyes, when the hum of the city outside my apartment faded into the low tone of Somniville. It felt as though the city was whispering through time, using every dreamer as a thread. I started connecting the dots. If these dreams had appeared decades apart, then maybe Somniville wasn't just a product of my mind. Maybe it was a place shared by many, a kind of mental convergence, a network of sleeping minds returning to the same impossible city. I began to trace the names in the margins of the old book. There were notes, initials, cryptic references, coordinates that led to empty plots of land, abandoned towns, erased histories, each one forming a faint pattern, a map of places that shouldn't exist. On the final page of the book, the handwriting shifted again, shakier, desperate. The ink had bled into the paper, but I could still make out the last sentence. If you find this, stop looking. The more you remember, the faster it comes for you. The air in my room felt wrong again, heavier. I glanced toward my notebook and realized it was open, but I hadn't touched it. Fresh lines were appearing on the page, one after another, written by an invisible hand. You're close. Don't stop. The city remembers you. I froze. My reflection in the dark window looked distorted, like I was standing inside the city again. The same pale blue light glowed faintly across my skin and in the glass behind my shoulder. The cat. I turned around. Nothing. Only the faint outline of my notebook on the desk. But the last line was still wet with ink. You were always meant to find us. I stared at the page until the hum became unbearable. A low vibration deep in my chest, in my bones. And then, just as I felt it peak, the lights went out. Fade out. It started with an email. No subject line, no sender name, just a single line of text. You've seen it too, haven't you? At first, I thought it was spam, some AI-generated junk. But when I opened it, I saw an image attached. A low-resolution photo of a city street, blue light, broken fountain, and in the distance, the clock tower, the same one from my dreams. My chest tightened. The message had no metadata, no origin, no timestamp. Whoever sent it didn't exist. I replied anyway. Who are you? No answer came. But over the next few nights, I kept seeing notifications pop up, new emails, same format, same empty sender field, different messages, different voices. I can't wake up. It's getting brighter every night. Don't look at the tower. The last one made me stop breathing for a few seconds. That exact phrase, don't look at the tower, was written on the final page of my notebook. But I never wrote it. I started digging. Forums, archived boards, private groups, anywhere people talked about recurring dreams. It didn't take long to find them. Hundreds of posts, different usernames, but the same descriptions. A city with a pale blue sky, a fountain that smells like rain and salt, a cat that doesn't move, and the sound of a clock that doesn't tell time. Some users claim to have drawn maps of it too. One of them even uploaded an image, and when I compared it to mine, every street matched perfectly. Every single one. Then I found her. A woman who went by Lyra87. Her post was simple, a scanned journal page with a handwritten note. If you're reading this, you've already walked the streets. I reached out. She replied almost immediately. Her tone was calm, too calm. She said she hadn't woken up in months, that she only existed inside the city now, that the more she tried to escape, the more the real world blurred around her. "It's not a dream," she wrote. "It's a place built from remembering." I didn't sleep that night. I printed out the photo she'd sent me. A blurry street corner, a shadow in the distance. Underneath it, barely visible, was a timestamp. From the same day I first dreamed of Somniville. The next morning I checked local records. That location didn't exist anywhere. But there was something nearby. A hospital, abandoned, burned down decades ago. No name, no listed staff. Only one entry in the archive with a typed note that made my skin crawl. Patients unresponsive. Eyes open, nonverbal, no brain activity. Diagnosis, perpetual sleep. I went there. The building was just a shell. Scorched walls, melted signage, a smell like burnt paper and ozone. My flashlight barely cut through the smoke-like haze. And then I saw it. Pinned to the wall, beneath layers of soot, was a photograph. My photograph. I was standing in front of the clock tower. My face was blurred, but my stance, my coat, my notebook in hand, it was unmistakable. I dropped the flashlight. The beam flickered across dozens of other photos, covering the wall like wallpaper. Different faces, different years. Everyone labeled in the same way, with the same single word scrawled in red marker, Dreamer. The whispers grew louder. I couldn't tell if they were behind me or inside me. They said my name, over and over. The more you dream, the less you wake. I ran, out of the hospital, out into the night air that didn't feel like air at all. The sky was too bright, too blue, and when I looked down at my hands, they were covered in dust. Not dirt, not ash, stone dust, like the city itself was carving me into its memory. When I got home, I tore the pages from my notebook and threw them into the sink. I set them on fire. The smoke was thick, black, and smelled like rain on stone. And in the reflection of the window above the flames, I saw the cat, still, watching, its yellow eyes glowing against the pale blue light that bled through my curtains. It started with the sound of rain, not the kind that falls, but the kind that hums like static behind your eyes. When I opened them, I was standing in the middle of Somniville again. The streets were the same, but wrong somehow. Buildings leaned closer, their windows dark and endless. The air pulsed like it was breathing in time with me. Every step I took echoed twice, once here and once somewhere else. The sky was heavy, a deep shade of blue that never moved. No clouds, no sun, just that endless ceiling of color pressing down. And then I realized the city was changing as I walked. Corners shifted, doors disappeared, streets curved back into themselves. It was folding inward, like paper burning from the edges. I reached the square with the broken fountain. The water wasn't water anymore. It was still like glass. When I looked down, I didn't see my reflection. I saw rooms, faces, moments I couldn't remember living. And in the center of it all, the notebook, floating there, its pages open, my handwriting filling every line. But the words were changing. The ink moved, twisting and rewriting itself into something else. My name faded, replaced by others. Dozens of them, hundreds, all written in the same shaky hand. I took a step back. The air rippled, and I felt it again. That weight on my chest. That same slow, steady rhythm. It wasn't my heart this time. It was the city's. A low vibration crawled through the ground. The streetlights flickered one by one. And then I saw them. Figures, standing perfectly still along the road, like shadows cut out of the air. Their faces blank but familiar. I knew their posture, their height, their stillness. They were the people I'd seen in the dream, the ones who never moved, never spoke, and now they were all looking at me. I turned to run, but every street led back to the same place, the square, the fountain, the notebook. No matter where I went, the sound followed, that soft hum, that whisper of breath. Then I heard something else, a voice, not from around me, but from inside the walls. It said my name, slowly, clearly, like it had been waiting to say it for years. The sound pulled me toward a narrow alley. It wasn't there before, I was sure of it. At the end of it stood a door, half open. The same door I'd drawn in the notebook, the one I could never find in the dream, the one I thought I'd imagined. I walked closer. The door trembled as if breathing. When I touched it, the world tilted. The ground fell away. And for a moment I wasn't standing on anything at all. Then I saw everything. Every street I had written, every shadow I had described. They weren't memories, they were blueprints. The city wasn't growing from me. It was using me. I was never dreaming Somniville. Somniville was dreaming me. The truth felt cold and weightless. Every time I had closed my eyes, the city had built a new piece of itself, through me, from me. The streets were my thoughts, the buildings my memories, and now it no longer needed me to keep existing. The notebook burned with a white light, pages flying upward into the dark. Each one dissolved into dust, and where they landed, new roads appeared, endless, spiraling, swallowing everything. I ran. The air was breaking apart, like glass cracking in slow motion. Voices filled the empty spaces, whispering words I couldn't understand. I looked up. The sky was gone. In its place, a mirror, and in the mirror I saw my reflection walking away from me, smiling. I screamed, but no sound came out. Only breath, the same rhythm, the same pulse, and then silence. When I opened my eyes, I was back in my apartment. Desk light on, notebook closed, the city map still on my monitor. Everything looked normal, too normal. I reached for the notebook. It was blank. Not a single word, not even my name. But on the very last page, written faintly in the corner, there was one word, Somniville. I closed the book, stared at the window. Outside, the rain had stopped. The world was still. Then, in the distance, a single street light flickered, and I realized I could still hear it, that hum, that breath, that quiet, patient heartbeat beneath the city. It wasn't gone. It was waiting for someone else to dream.